It's time for the Left of Lansing Friday Short with Pat Johnston.
Here's the Friday Short for December 5th of 2025. A report from the Detroit News' Craig Mauger reveals today how the utility monopoly giant in Michigan, DTE, is bribing, is donating to powerful political forces on both sides of the aisle. No surprise, but DTE's nonprofit known as Michigan Energy First apparently handed out $550,000 to a nonprofit group that's staffed by individuals who used to work for Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Now, this makes perfect sense in Lansing because this is how the game is played. Don't forget about that excellent report over the summer from The Guardian's Tom Perkins, in which he detailed how Democratic Governor Whitmer ousted a clean energy advocate from the state's regulatory board known as the Michigan Public Service Commission and replaced that person with an energy industry ally. That industry ally is the former chief of staff for former Democratic State House Speaker Joe Tate, who himself received around $100K in money from DTE's dark money nonprofit. Joe Tate touted himself, by the way, as a pro-business Democrat, which essentially means he does business with big business to help himself and big corporations while leaving the working class in the dust. Now, Tate dropped his bid at running for Detroit mayor once he realized he had no chance, and then he ended his brief run for Michigan's open U.S. Senate seat since he was as popular as Canadian wildfire is here in Michigan during the summer. Oh, but Joe Tate ended up backing Democratic establishment Congresswoman Haley Stevens in the Democratic primary for the Senate seat. Just saying. In that same Guardian story, former progressive state representative Rachel Hood said Whitmer's decision to place Tate's former chief of staff named Shaquilla Myers on the Michigan Public Service Commission isn't just because Myers is an industry ally, but it's because she will push Whitmer's energy agenda. Rachel Hood also said that former Speaker Tate stopped any kind of legislation aimed at placing higher standards on the state's energy monopolies, DTE and Consumers Energy, and that the governor is pushing DTE's agenda to the best of her ability. So it's no wonder Big Gretch is a big champion of big tech filled with its little fascist tech bro billionaires who push their authoritarian agenda all over their algorithms as they try to fast-track massive AI data centers across the state, including in Howell Township in Livingston County, and of course the monstrous one in Washtenaw County's Saline Township. The people in those communities are fighting back as best as they can against these data centers and have pressured the Michigan Public Service Commission to at least slow down the Saline project, even though DTE, which will provide the power for these energy and job-sucking data centers, wanted the project okayed without any public comment. What do you know? Now, before MAGA-types believe this is strictly a Whitmer and establishment Democratic Party problem, that same Detroit News story says DTE's dark money nonprofit has given around $750,000 to a nonprofit tied to current MAGA State House Speaker Matt Hall. I mean, haven't you found it strange that Matt Hall, who just loves to criticize liberals and Democrats at all times, doesn't really have much to say about these data centers, which are receiving massive tax breaks and corporate welfare to show up here? I mean, I'm reminded of that line in the movie JFK when Joe Pesci says, "It's fun and games, man, fun and games. Everybody's switching sides all the time." Well, that's the game being played in Lansing. And the elites in corporate and political power play it very well, and they do it behind our backs. It doesn't have to be that way. There's a ballot proposal that's collecting signatures at this moment called Michiganders for Money Out of Politics, or better known as Mop Up Michigan, that aims to ban corporate dark money bribes if those companies do business in Michigan. I talked with Melinda Billingsley from Voters Not Politicians, which is part of a coalition for Mop Up Michigan, and she said this proposal is a first step in stopping politicians in Lansing choosing to listen to corporate donors over the people.
Which is obviously not how our democracy is supposed to function, right? Our elected officials are there to represent us as the voters, not just their donors. You know, as we say here in MOP, it's our democracy should not be for sale, which is one of the reasons why not just passing this policy, but getting the signatures and putting this on the ballot is so important.
You can hear my full interview on Mop Up Michigan with Miss Billingsley in this week's episode of Left of Lansing. Make sure to sign those petitions to get this proposal on the ballot or join in helping collect signatures because we have to get our democracy back and get our politicians to fear our votes over corporate political slush funds. leftoflansing@gmail.com is the best way to reach me. Follow me on Blue Sky, Facebook, the Gram, and Twitter. Subscribe to the show on the YouTube and subscribe and give a good 5-star review of Michigan's premier progressive podcast. Go Lions and take the battle to them.